Hey everyone, good almost afternoon. I'm going to take you through a lot of things in the next 40 minutes, so strap in, get ready, make sure you're caffeinated because there's a lot to actually go over. Quick whoop, who really enjoyed the Vision for Innovation this morning? Yeah, I thought so. So the purpose of this session is I'm going to bring everyone back down to earth slightly. We're going to get into the product that's available today, and we're going to go deep. So you can truly understand what we're going to be really doing with AI in the immediate term. And then there's a roadmap session later on where you'll see some of the future stuff as well. So yeah, quick intro. That's a life-size headshot of me. I'm Ben Carter. I'm Senior Director for Automation AI here at Bullhorn. My job is to just be on the front line, speaking to customers, speaking to prospects. I'm only here until Saturday, but I've already met a bunch of people already. If you see me and I'm available and you want to ask any questions, please feel free to do it. We'll have a conversation as well. I'm going to start with a bold statement. 2025 is going to be the year that you're going to rip up what you think KPIs are in this industry. But I'm going to talk about it later, and we'll come back to that. So in case you don't know, we're currently in the third wave of AI. The first one's been around for a long time. So if we think about what insights or predictive kind of AI has been, we'll think things like spam filters and how they improved over time, etc., as we went along. Then more recently, we got into co-pilots and assistants and things like smart speakers at your home. You can have a conversation with your watch, things like that. And then more recently, it's all been around turning things agentic, which is that kind of blend of automation and AI to be able to really drive full processes, full workflows, etc. as well. There's going to be a huge impact for us. So what does that mean? Well, we can say goodbye to generic engagement. We can get hyper-personalized in the way that we engage with anyone just by using AI. Secondly, manual processes are definitely going to be a thing of the past. So what does that mean? Well, Jeff kind of alluded to it. You could go full-blown, entire process automated all the way through, or you can inject it at certain stages. And then thirdly, we've spent so much time as an industry. I'm 22 years in this industry. So much time's burned at the top of the funnel and being bogged down in it. And it's all about working closer to the money. So that's us. That's Bullhorn AI. We're reimagining recruitment and all the way through. What's it going to do for us? First of all, it's going to enable you to embed AI into your existing, and now you're probably going to start to create brand new workflows as organizations. Secondly, safely use AI without giving up any of your data. When ChatGPT first come along, you probably don't even realize how much your teams were grabbing data from your database and sticking it up in ChatGPT to generate content. Well, that's all Sam Altman's data now, and you've got no choice or no option with that. And thirdly, it's about efficiently scaling across your business, and you can control as and when that scales as well. Jeff also mentioned we're concentrating on two areas. So the first one is the assistant, and then the second one is AI agents and enabling you to become more agentic. I'm going to deep dive in both of these. So for anyone that's not seen any of this, don't worry, you're going to learn all about it today. I'm going to start with the assistant. Quick show of hands. Anyone use this? Anyone recognize what it is? Yeah, pretty much everyone, right? Has anyone used our Copilot, the early edition of the AI assistant? Still got it running today? Yeah, so it looks like this now. We've changed it, we've remodeled it slightly because this makes more sense when you're going to want to start adding more things to it. But this is what the assistant looks like today. You can do things like pitch emails about a job to a candidate. And based on feedback, we've also added it to jobs. These are live screenshots of Bullhorn. We can come out to the hub stand afterwards and we can see this live in action. So we're moving it across other places, and you'll see in the roadmap later everywhere else this is going as well. We can do things like create job ads. Click of a button. We can take the job description and we can spin up a job ad. And if it's not right, it doesn't matter, but it's a good base start line for you to generate something new. Or screening questions for candidates. Also based on feedback is not only do we want to generate content about a record, we want to link records together. So if you can see that, not only is it using the job, it's also writing the screening questions based on an individual candidate as well. So you can get hyper-personalized. If you're on the phone to a candidate, if they've inbound called you, 2 clicks of a button, you've got a bunch of screening questions ready to go. And later this month, in fact, it's already gone into our demo environment, but this is how the AI assistant is going to look. So it's moving away from being a card, and it's going to become a slide out. And that's now going to unlock us to make it so much more feature-rich. Because number one, not only is it going to be a chat stream for you now, which means you don't have to completely refresh the content every time. You can just natural language speak to it, and it will adjust things as it goes as well. But secondly, it means that this assistant will start to become more persistent across anywhere you are in Bullhorn. So what does that mean? That means that, in time, it will understand the record you're on and just default actions everywhere you go as well. Again, based on feedback, and Nathan kind of spoke to this earlier as well, customers wanted the keys to their own kingdom. The very, very early customers were like, I don't know what prompt engineering is. I'm not going to spend incredible amounts of money in one of the hottest jobs that are out there at the moment to pay someone to do this for me. And very quickly, what they realized was, this is pretty straightforward and pretty easy. So they wanted the keys to the kingdom to be able to actually go and write and generate their own prompts. So we gave a bunch out the box. We went and hired a prompt engineer. We gave you industry best practice prompts for you to get started. But you're going to want to add your own. So that's all available now as well. That's the admin tool. You can come in and you can pretty much custom write anything you want. So you can choose what type of record it'll appear on. You can do things like give it a task. So basically, what type of action is it going to be? You can completely put your own prompt in there as well. You can also reference Bullhorn data. So you can pick and choose what fields of data you want to be included in the prompt, or make them optional so that if someone clicks the button in the assistant, they can choose whether to include that field or not as well. And then you hit the playground on the right-hand side, pick a record, and then you'll be able to test it before you make it live. Mark it as public, save it. It's available for everyone to use. And the early version was all about choice. It was all about connecting your own and bringing your own LLM. But as Jeff mentioned earlier as well, we've been busy in the background. So we've taken an open source edition of Meta Llama 3.3, which is one of the highest performing large language models that's open source out there, and we've done the hard work for you. So we've wrapped it, we've embedded it into the platform, and now you'll be able to interact with it without even having to think about the high barrier of entry of setting and configuring one of these large language models. So that's the assistant. It's going to give you the ability to interact with generative AI directly from a Bullhorn record, a secure way to scale and use it. Predefined roles and tasks will get you started. So think blueprints and the way that kind of automation works. This will work out the box. You don't have to write a prompt if you don't want to at the start. It'll turn your recruiters into your best recruiters because you can now actually add your secret sauce to this as well. And it's going to be powered by choice of LLMs. Then we spoke about search and match this morning, so let's dig under the hood of that one a bit. Anyone remember this stat, 14.6 hours? That was the feedback we got of how much time recruiters spend staring at long lists and search results of candidates. So let's visualize that for a moment. That's over a third of anyone's day or anyone's week or anyone's month. Now at Bullhorn, we've known for a long time we've had to do a lot of work in improving search and match. It's been a key focus of ours. It was a very expensive focus of ours. So we really doubled down on this, and we went and acquired the best technology that's out there in the market. Not only for the Bullhorn platform, but we've also done this to unlock us in our Salesforce focus around Recruitment Cloud as well. But what does this mean? Well, this means that now when you're adding a job to Bullhorn, or another way of thinking about it, when a job syncs down from VMS Sync, however that job gets into the system, you're now presented with a card that's going to recommend candidates to you. And it's that quick. It happens real time. As you hit save, it will index the job, and it will just present every matching candidate to you. Focus in a little bit, just so you can see what part I'm talking about. So this is new. The color coding is nothing to do with score anymore. It's nothing to do with how many times a keyword appears in a candidate. It's all relevancy now. We trained the models to actually be able to predict the outcomes of these candidates and the different types of candidates. As a seasoned recruiter, you'll be able to look at two CVs and see how similar they are, and if one's as placeable as the other. The model's been trained to perform in that kind of action. So that means that we'll be able to predict, potentially, who is the most placeable candidate that's in your database. But the important thing is in your database. This is a Bullhorn first mentality workflow that we've now built into the system, so people don't have to go external and start searching Seek, LinkedIn, everywhere else that they go first, potentially spending more money acquiring the same candidate that's already in your database as well. So it's designed to uncover talent that's already there and speed up that process for you. But yep, you can click the blue button, and then that will take you straight to the new Novo candidate list. Every entity is going to get this overhaul over time. We're starting with candidates because we wanted to build a new search feature. But the key thing to remember about this is, number one, filtering is incredibly simple moving forward. You don't have to have a column visible in order to filter at the top of it anymore. You don't have to go back to your search criteria and rerun it because you want to apply new filters. You can very quickly just filter your database based on the list view that you've got and you're active with as well. So it's very simple. Click a button, find the field you want. And then another thing about fields is if you do want to add a new column in here, very simple to manage columns now. I was a previous Bullhorn customer. Some of the toughest feedback that I always heard as an ops leader from the front lines is, why is it every time I add a new column, it's right at the very far right, and I've got to scroll for ages and drag it to get it into view? So it's very simple now. You can just pick what you want, order it where you want, hit save, and it will just be there. Now, it's a bit small on screen, but at the very, very top, you'll see a little red icon inside a window. And when we click it, that now takes us to our auto-built search. So if you want to start one from scratch, it will be blank, but because it's auto-built, it relates to a job, and it will always relate to that job. So when you come back to your recent searches, which is also something we're introducing, you'll know which one was relevant for which job that was there as well. So there'll always be an association. So that's the new panel. Anyone's ever seen SourceBreaker, ever uses SourceBreaker, you're seeing the inspiration about how we can visually build Boolean now as well. So you can very quickly add a new keyword and see the ontology dictionaries, the taxonomies, the synonyms, however you know this kind of technology. You see it all sitting straight behind there. So it's not just looking at a single keyword that's been added, it's actually going to improve it through the AI training and will also search for all the alternatives that are there. There are tens of thousands of project mangas on LinkedIn today that only have it spelt an incorrect way. They do that because they hide from recruiters. They've got smart. If you're not searching for that word, that's the word they become. So technology like this uncovers the people that you are not finding when you're searching out there. So just bear in mind that this is going to be super powerful and super flexible for you. Now, I've spoken to a lot of SourceBreaker customers, text kernel customers, the sales teams that was in those businesses, and I asked them, what example Boolean strings do you receive when you're demoing? Normally looks something like this. So if we was in a sales cycle with anyone here, we'd say, can you provide us some search examples so we can prepare a demo that's relevant for you? This is consistently the type of thing that we receive in terms of how deep you go with Boolean searching. But those keywords look something more like this when you're searching in this new way. So it's always going to uncover more alternative people for you as well. Next is a drag and drop interface. So that just means that once you've added that new keyword, you can just drag and drop it into an OR group, create a new AND group, anything you want. We're just visualizing Boolean is the best way to think about it. And then we don't need to wait for the search result if we want filters. Simply add it, and then from there you can see those filters and bring in anything you want. This is going to go full cross-entity as well. So it's not just about searching on the record type you want. It's about searching the more related data that's in the system at the same time. Think about the way you build automations, and you can kind of cross-reference against other records that are linked at the same time. And then from the list view, very simple. Nothing's changing here. We're not reinventing the way that everyone's doing this. This is going to be naturally adopted by users in the new user interface. So as you work your way down, you'll see the CV that's on file. That's actually a new release as well. Not only do you see the text version of the CV, you can actually see the attached document of the CV in the list view now as well. And then when we're ready, we can select what we want, and we can just add them to the shortlist. So that's AI-powered search and match, enhanced user experience. Everyone will receive the new list type view. That is something we're going to bring to every Bullhorn customer. The AI enhancements, the keyword grouping, the auto building, that's all the new AI search and match filters, just to be clear. But yeah, recommended candidates, search auto build, keyword expansion, followed searches, external sourcing. So we are also looking to bring more external sourcing to market down here as well. And then in addition to that, and we'll talk about it in the roadmap later, we're going to look at ways how we can reverse engineer some of this. So rather than looking at a job and seeing matching candidates, how can we look at a candidate and see all the matching jobs that are there? Technology's ready to go. We're just building the interface for that at the moment as well. Next, let's talk about screening. So Jeff and Nathan took you through a screen earlier. Nathan definitely did a good job answering that first question, but he 100% Googled the answer for that one. But what we saw was our candidates are really willing to have a voice conversation, but in their own terms, when they're ready to do it. They want to control the process. It just unlocks a bit of candidate experience as we go. And if we think about it, just think of this as the top of the funnel for a moment. This is the recruitment funnel that you go through every single day. Many, many candidates enter the top end of your database. Very, very few turn into placements. And that's probably because you burn all your time in your day at the top of it. So if we remove that process and move everyone closer to the money, that means you've got more time spent to actually convert better ranking candidates and get them into more placements, or more time to spec out to new potential clients as well. The candidates are ready. So Jeff spoke about the grid survey that goes out to the talent and the candidate pools out globally as well. A couple more metrics I want to talk about that we discovered in this one. The first one is candidates are comfortable working with AI as long as it speeds up the process. So they're willing to interact with an AI rather than a human at a very early stage, as long as it actually speeds them up and gets them through the funnel quicker. Second one is 63% of candidates say working with AI, they actually ended up receiving faster responses. Think of the value of automation in AI. You can remove the whole black hole effect of a candidate falling into it. They just want to know simply yes or no. Are they going to get anywhere through the process for that job? And then the third stat I've got is not a grid one. We've got some customers that have been testing this for the last few months. And every single candidate that went through the process, we also put a survey on the end of the experience. And what 82% of them said is the experience is actually really high when it comes to the screening agent. So what these metrics were really telling us was, this is a really positive experience that is new to a candidate, but they're willing to do it and complete it. So let's go back to that job. We can see the auto match there, but then we've also got a tab for screening questions. So as we go into it, 2 ways screening questions can end up here. The first one is you can just hit the blue button, and then at which point that's going to call the Bullhorn LLM, so that's just going to happen in the background, and then we get our screening questions. And again, as Nathan said, there's an edit button, there's a delete button, there's an add button. You can add to this, you can customize it at the desk level. If someone wants to override some of these questions, they can absolutely do that as well. But you can also do it with automation. So there's a new step that's going to be available in the agentic world of automation where it can just go and just generate these screening questions when you're ready. So every job could just automatically have the screening questions ready to go. So again, we're moving more towards agentic, but I'll talk about that in a moment. So we've got our screening questions. Now we need to connect the dots with the candidates. So there's 2 ways that a candidate typically enters the ATS workflow, so the job workflow. The first one is you find them, and I've just shown you a way that we can do that, right? So let's say that we've found that candidate in the auto search, and we've reached out to them, we're on the phone to them, we're having a conversation. We're happy to proceed. We want to invite this person to screen, or we can just simply change the status, invite them to screen, move them further down the ATS workflow. But the other way that we can also do this is when they apply for jobs, because we've been connecting the dots between job boards and Bullhorn for years now. You can get applicants flow straight into the system. You may be using systems that traffic light them today, but if you untraffic light them and just let everyone flow in, then automation can now do that first screening. So whether it's on your website and they're applying, or on a job board and applying, doesn't really make any difference. Once they hit the system, automation can now, number one, thank them for the application. So we have your application, no black hole anymore, that goes away. But now the call to action can now be, let's take a screening. So they can click the button, take them straight back, and at which point, as Nathan spoke about earlier, purely optional, you can drive them through high-level knockout questions first, filter out that first layer from even getting to the next stage. If they're not applicable to work in a country, if they don't have the right skill, if they can't work 40 hours a week, if they don't have a forklift driver's license, whatever the scenario is, if they get knocked out of the process, then we can just get them out of the way. But those that answer correctly will just now receive that invite to screen. And they'll get taken to the screening page. Completely branded as you. There'll be no concept of this being Bullhorn tech in there at all. We're actually looking to do an enhancement here where this will pop up just like a survey does, just like the chatbot does on your website. It'll just pop up in a really large window so they think it's your tech that's sitting on your website doing this. And then you can just start the interview. I'm not going to go through it again. We saw it earlier on this morning. The voice agent will start speaking. It doesn't necessarily just go verbatim through the screening questions. The actual system is trained to get to the best answer with the candidate. What does that mean? That means that based on the response from the candidate, if there could have been a stronger response, it's going to give them the option to say, is there anything more you want to include before we move on as well? If the candidate doesn't reply to the question and just goes random and starts talking to the agent will also pause them and guide them back towards the questions. Its sole purpose is to get the screening questions answered, but it will do it in a polite and sensible way just to get everyone through the process. Now, the main reason why we did voice for this as well, rather than just text, is any candidate could sit there, receive a question, Google an answer, paste it back in. Voice is going to keep them more accountable. Voice is also going to give us the ability to reflect on tone, and we're not displaying it to start with, but what we're going to do is train models that can also analyze, did they sound nervous? Were they really delayed in their responses? Did we have to keep prompting them to answer the same question? All that analysis is going to be value to you that them just pasting an answer and hitting send is never going to give you. But once it does come back, you will now get scoring and analysis come through. But before we talk about that, let's think about the candidate experience again for a moment. So that screening is now complete. You saw the score. If that score's high, we can now just automate them straight through to the next step in the process. If the score's low, potentially put them through a rejection notification, anything else we need to do. So, book time in the diary, that's great, and now the recruiter's going to pick up that invite and is going to speak to the candidate. So when they do, they can now analyze all the output from the screening that happened. So the first thing is there's a summary, high-level summary about the entire conversation, what the system thought about the candidate, etc. Secondly, there's going to be analysis. So what does this analysis say? The candidate demonstrated over 5 years of professional Java development experience, which exceeds the minimum requirement for the job. It's giving detailed orientation around the actual answer that was given versus anything else. There's also suggested focus areas. So that second set of bullets that are there, that's now suggesting while you're speaking to this candidate, dig a little bit deeper about this and dig a little bit deeper about that and get some more information about the candidate. Now you're having a human conversation. And then thirdly, you see the entire transcript. So you'll see every single question that the agent asked and every single response that the candidate gave as well. So instead of you having speaking to 10 candidates, 5 of them were unqualified because you're sitting at the top of the funnel and you don't know this, there's 3 potentials, they're probably an amber in color, 2 of them are green, you turn it into 1 placement. Why don't you speak to 10 strong, highly qualified, highly scoring, screened questions for every single job, knowing that you're going to place the one, you can potentially pitch more to the same client, or you can now go and spec them out across your other client base or your prospects to try and generate more placements there as well. The real value of this is not just the one you placed, it's about the high-ranking silver medalists. This is going to unlock a new view on your candidates of people that are in your database that perform incredibly high when it comes to actually interviewing for these types of jobs. And this is all going to be data that's available to you. You can always come in and see it. You can always use this as now your sales tactic, or you can be using this in any backfill scenarios or anything else that's there. So that's a screening agent. The biggest feedback we receive from the early access customers that were testing this is it's not just the fact of it sped up the whole process. The candidates that were placed, most of them were actually candidates that probably the recruiter would have just looked past because the CV didn't stand out to them. The CV didn't look that strong. So unlocking it and giving the candidate the ability to be the master of their own destiny and actually have that interview is what made them shine and got some of those to placement as well. So intelligent question generation, candidate fit analysis, job description comparison, top-of-funnel automation, enhanced candidate experience, and most importantly, the recruiter's free to focus on the right candidates every time. So that's 3 different things. Most of that was manual clicks in Bullhorn I showed you, but Jeff spoke about agents as well. So I'm going to wrap us up with the actual agent mapping that we have. We have enrichment agents, we have matching agents, messaging agents, screening agents. The AI assistant is everywhere, as Nathan said. So let's just go through that journey that Jeff was talking about. So first of all, let's just talk about enrichment. So this is a prompt that I'm going to build with you. So what we're going to do, it's going to be, it's going to be available for automation to use. What does that mean? That means that any users in Bullhorn won't see it on the candidate assistant card. It will actually just be automation that sees this prompt. So we're going to use this one for background processing only. So what we're going to do, we're going to use the data extractor persona. So we're building out a prompt here where they're going to behave in a certain way. We want to extract the last job title from a candidate. Why would we want to do that? Maybe we have a database full of poor data quality. Maybe there's a bunch of people in there where actually there is no job title in that field. So how do we go fix it? Well, I'm going to add it to an automation step. The automation step's going to look at all of the jobs with no job titles in it, and now it's going to execute it. But the important thing is, not only are we going to run the prompt, we're now going to save the response back to the field on the record. So we're going to put it straight into the job title field. So there's nearly 4,000 jobs in the database that's about to go get that field populated based on what's in the CV, what's in the work history, et cetera, that we're looking at. So let's think of another one. Imagine a job hits the system. Well, maybe the internal description is not that great. Maybe it's in a notebook at the moment, it's not in the system. Maybe it's come from a VMS, and we all know that when it comes to VMS, clients are not that great at actually providing you a lot of detail. So however way we're doing it, it hits the system. We now improve that job description, and now we get something that looks a lot more structured. Not only is that good for the recruiter to now understand a bit more about the job, that's going to improve our auto-matching as well, because we're never going to auto-match people if there's no description. So backfilling even the poor quality gives us more of an option of finding a right candidate. So let's go to the matching step. Well, now let's automate this process. So we've got the match candidates, and we've had this for a while. Auto-match has been part of the automation platform for actually quite a few years. We're now going to link the dots between the 2 systems. So what you see on every job record is going to be the same 10 candidates or 20 candidates that auto-match is also going to do. So we're going to repoint the automation system to now call the new AI matching service. So what do we do next? We want to outreach to them. So let's think of another prompt we can use. And this one is going to generically pitch a job for match and message. So at this stage, we've not actually got the candidate through the automation yet. But what we're probably going to want to do is have some kind of overarching pitch, elevator pitch about a job living on every record in the database. So every job that goes in, job spec gets improved, we match candidates, and we can now pull an elevator pitch about that job that just is going to make our match step a lot more enticing. So now that email template that we build in automation, well, we can start to utilize new merge tags for this purpose. So now I can look a little bit more engaging, a little bit more specific about the job, rather than it just be insert job title, insert location, insert start date. Are you interested? Let me know. So we can get a lot more detail around all this stuff as well now. And then lastly is a screening agent. So again, we can match, we can message, and then anyone that shows interest, maybe it's a button on the email that says, I'm enticed to find out more. Maybe that call to action sent them to the website and they just applied for the job. Either way that they're there, now they're in, and they're in the shortlist, we can outreach about screening as well. So it could be a text message that takes them to the screening agent. It could be an email, as we kind of saw earlier. But either way, we're now driving them towards that screening agent when we're ready. So that was 4 steps, all automated. The goal is the recruiter's just going to prioritize on the relationship building and actually being more on the phone and having more conversations. Jeff spoke about the great stay earlier on. Harder than ever to dislodge candidates from where they are. There's not that many candidates available. So the goal here is just help you just prioritize more time actually being human and having conversations. And then you can decide at what stage of this process you want to automate all the way through. So what happens to KPIs in an agentic world? I opened with a statement of KPIs are going to get reimagined. Well, if all of that's happening automated now, those standard KPIs are going to have to adjust, surely. Well, what actually happens? Volumes of actions go up, time to complete actions go down. So what does it actually look like in 2025 when we think about this? And there's also another anomaly, and I'm guilty of this 100% of the time. Parkinson's law states that you will always take the maximum allocated time to complete a task, regardless of how much time you have to complete it. So if you've been automating already through the platform and you're wondering to yourself, why am I not seeing more outcomes coming out of this? It's not because there's not enough time being generated to do more. It's the mindset of the people, and the targets you're setting them need to be adjusted. Because if now someone has 4 hours free a day, they're going to do the same amount of work, and it's going to take them 4 hours longer to do it. That's just nature, and it's the way that people operate. So, rather than thinking about typical metrics, my challenge to you, my challenge to the industry is, let's start thinking about outcome-based metrics that are more than just something that's been clicked in the system. So, think about the companies you've placed with previously, and now you've not contacted them recently. That should be a metric that's always zero. That should always be a zero metric. Every one of your customers you've got terms with should be spoken to as regularly as possible. So that's one. It should never be about new BD calls if you're not even speaking to customers where you can do a deal today. The next one, candidates with an interview. Everyone agree that if that candidate's been sent to 3 of your vacancies, the likelihood of them being placed increases? It's a pretty straightforward one. So it's more about taking the candidates that you've got that are high value and having more time to get them out there to other places as well. That should also be an interview. That should also be a zero stat as well. And then thirdly, you've got upcoming finishers with no engagement. And what do we mean by that? Calls, no extension booked, they're not in a submission anywhere else, there's no interviews booked for them, they've not taken a screening. Think about the new world of this as well. Well, you've now got more time to spend focusing 100% on redeployment of your contractors as well. So is the redeployment percentage the important thing? No. Is the activity trying to redeploy people more important? I would say it definitely is. So Jeff said it this morning. It's been on our website for the last couple of weeks. It's all about more placements, more profit, but ideally without having to grow your teams to get there. So with that, I'm going to wrap up. Quick admin for you all. So we've got lunch served in a moment, so good news. We can all now go relax and just refresh and everything. There's a lot to take in. But then after that, we'll be coming back into here for the main session. We've got a session coming up with Matt Church all around thoughts about tomorrow that you can do today. But with that, I'm going to say thanks. Cheers.